Hey, John Cruz out here. I'm on the water, and I've been asked a number of times, and people just don't understand it, so I'm gonna do my best job to explain jack plate height and why you wanna have that adjustable jack plate and how to utilize that to maximize the performance of your bass boat. Now, I've got an 8-inch Atlas TH Marine plate on the back here of my Bass Cat Lynx. It's a 20-foot bass boat, and the same principles apply to every bass boat, no matter what the manufacturer. So what you want to do is you want to start out with your jack plate all the way down. Now what you have to realize is when you're getting on plane, there's going to be an optimal height that your boat's going to get on plane quickest. Now, each boat's going to be different. Some boats it might be all the way down. Some boats it might be a couple inches up. Some boats it might be a couple inches up higher than that. What you're going to be trying to find that optimal depth for is that different props have different size hubs. Like I've got a 3-blade Mercury Fury on the back, 24 pitch, and the Fury is a relatively smaller hubbed prop. So what that's going to be able to do is not churn as much water. It has certain advantages over bigger 4-bladed props that have more surface area. Those bigger 4-bladed props are probably going to be up a little bit higher in the water column because it's going to be harder to turn those props, if that makes any sense. The smaller hubbed props, the 3-bladed props, are probably going to be down in the water column a little bit further, so that when they turn over, they can have the optimal amount of slip. Now, when I'm talking about slip is the distance from the surface that the top of the ear is from the water. So you got the water surface here, that prop is down here. Some props turn better closer to the surface. Some props turn better a little further under the surface, and because what happens is when that prop is turning close to the surface, you get what they call slip, and that just it slips a little bit. That can help you get on plane quicker. If you have too much slip, then you blow out. Now, when your prop is a little bit lower, you might have too much grip and not enough slip, and then that way your boat struggles to get on plane. So what we're going to do here with my Bass Cat is that I already know kind of my optimal height. This is the optimal height is going to be relatively low. I'm going to trim it all the way down, trim that Mercury all the way down, and then when I go to get on plane, I'm going to just do a little sample here. It's going to get on plane pretty quickly because that smaller hubbed prop does well all the way down. I'll show you. See, that jumps on plane real quick there. Jumps on plane real quick and easy. Now, as opposed to, let's run that jack plate up to show you what too much slip looks like. We're gonna run it on up. We don't even need to run it all the way up. I'll show you, this is all the way up, all the way to the top, 6 inches. We're gonna run it down about halfway, about 3 or 4 inches. Now, when I go up on plane here, you're gonna hear this prop spin out. Right there. Now the prop still got on, the boat still got on plane, but you can hear when it broke over on pad, it spun out. The prop was run up too high, had too much slip. So that's a main reason that you're going to have that adjustable height and what you're going to do to it. Now, I've had a couple friends of mine call me and say, man, my boat's really slow getting on plane, blah, blah, blah. And I said, what did you do with your Atlas? Did you run that jack plate up and see what happened? And they were trying it all the way down. Their prop had too much bite. They raised it up a couple inches, and then all of a sudden they were getting on plane much faster, much easier. But what you get on plane with is not necessarily your maximum height for running on plane. What you want to do when you're running on plane, once you get your boat on plane and you're running, I like to, again, start all the way at the bottom. And what happens when your jack plate is all the way down, it helps lift the boat out of the water. That can have huge advantages in rough water. it can have huge advantages if it's real sloppy, you know, they have a bunch of boat wakes, stuff like that. So that's where I'm gonna start down. But as I get going, once the water calms down a little bit, then I'm gonna raise that jack plate up just a shade, raise that jack plate up just a shade, and I'm gonna just keep an eye on my water pressure, make sure I don't lose any water pressure. And I'm gonna also, once I feel like I'm in optimal trim position, if I'm over trimmed too much, I'm gonna be kicking up a huge rooster tail. That's not what I want. You're losing power that way. I wanna get my rooster tail down so it's kicking about the height of my engine. And if you trim your boat out and you're running down the lake and you look back and you don't have any rooster tail, your motor's too low, you wanna raise that, I'm talking, you know, a ½ inch to an inch at a time, not a whole lot. You just wanna barely move that thing up. Check your rooster tail. That can help be an indicator on your motor height. Make sure that motor height is correct. But again, you don't want to go too high, because what happens is if your motor height goes too high, when you get into turns, you lose all your grip from your prop, just like getting on plane. If you lose the grip on your prop, your boat can spin out, it can do 180s, you can have bad situations. I mean, I've been on tour a long time, I've actually seen it happen. It's not good. Luckily, nobody has had any major injuries that I've seen, but it definitely can be a problem if your motor height is too high and you're trying to take sharp turns. So just make sure, if you are going into sharp turns, you want to run that motor down, or at least be relatively close to low before you take any sharp turns, because that's how you do those spin outs and things like that. So hopefully those tips will help you get your jack plate adjusted to the right height so that you can get the optimal performance out of your big engine, out of your bass boat. You can have more time on the water to have fun because you're not worrying where your jack plate is.